Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Weird Futures, a comic review for Samurai Jack. And this week we're going to do Samurai Jack Season 5, Episode 5. Today, here I have my boy, Chives, in person with me. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
And he's going to be doing the review with me today. So, for those of you who haven't been keeping up, Samurai Jack has been getting slowly and progressively better and better. And today we start without Samurai Jack. Now, other episodes we've kind of been dancing around Samurai Jack. We've been talking with people, or been seeing people kind of implemented in Jack's life. We've seen the daughters of Aku hell-bent to kill him. We see Aku himself, who is basically the big bad, and we know where he kind of stands. But in this episode, we start with a bunch of military men in tanks, a bunch of armadillo men on armadillo tanks, and the Scotsman himself, old as hell in a wheelchair, and all of his daughters standing behind him, going and attacking Aku's tower. And basically what ends up happening is the other armies get destroyed, and the Scotsman stays back to defend his daughters and ends up getting killed for it by Aku himself.
Yeah, in this scene, he says, the dad pretty much says, I'll hold him off.
Yeah, in his wheelchair.
Yeah, you big baby.
Yeah, he starts muttering all kinds of insults at Aku as he stands there like miles beneath Aku. He's just like, you big baby, you know Jack's gonna kill you. And it's just like a minute of pure insult, and then Aku just laser beams him and explodes him. And we see the sword with magic runes go flying across the air in front of his daughters, and they basically pick it up and are in a moment of mourning, watching their dad get wrecked. And then you see him come back as a ghost from the pile of dust that he became, and he essentially explains that magic runes keep him alive, and in his prime, no less, he comes back as the young, health and fit Scotsman, except he's a ghost now, and all of his daughters are now there with him, and they're gonna go find Jack to put an end to Aku. And then we just basically cut back to Jack and where he is now with Ashi. Do you want to continue?
I mean, for this scene, there's nothing much more on.
What do you mean? For the beginning scene? Not really.
Scar scene.
We see, after we see the sword shatter, which is, I thought, was pretty crazy, just because in the first, if you guys have seen the original series, the Scotsman makes it a point to say the runes make the sword pretty badass, basically almost on par with Jack's sword, if not close. But then we just see Aku obliterate it in this scene, so maybe not as powerful as we thought.
Okay, so the next scene we have Jack and Ashi on the island, and this time Ashi's the one who's seeming to go crazy for just a second. She sees her mother in the sky,
as the
moon, telling her to kill Jack. But instead of what we traditionally have seen from Ashi and all the daughters, where they're
blind obedience.
Yeah, they're blind and they're told to kill Jack. Ashi finally says, no, I need answers.
And the mom's just like, you've betrayed me. You've betrayed all of us by siding with Jack. And then her face literally goes from her face to the sun, and it's the next day. And then we see Jack basically jump in the water, and she thinks that Jack's running away or something like that. And he manages to wrangle himself up a giant water dragon, sort of. And no explaining that, no explaining how he talked to it or how he managed to catch it, but he definitely rides it. And him and Ashi escaped this island together, riding it. And she sees we have this nice little art scene of them riding the dragon. We see dolphins going beside them, all very cinematic. And Ashi's like, wow, that's pretty crazy. That's really cool. Wow. So they land after this whole nice little scene of them riding it, and they put down, and Jack tells the dragon, I'll repay you, don't worry about it. And the dragon doesn't say anything and just leaves. Yeah, so right after that, basically Jack tells Ashi goodbye because he feels like he has nothing more to show her, I guess. And she starts following him and is like, how can you say that everything I believe in is a lie if you're not willing to back it up? So he basically says, just wait a day, and I'll explain to you how, and I'll show you why Aku is so bad. But before he does that, during the night, he basically tells the story of what his mother told him, of what he believes how the cosmos were created, essentially. and it's all about how like the sun and moon are people, and they shoot the stars into the sky and things like that. It's very, very artsy again. They're really kind of showing off with the colors, which I'm not complaining about because I thought it was really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the art in this scene was, pretty spot on. I thought it was a different take to bring light to Ashi. She this whole time has been fighting for no reason, and the one thing that actually opens her eyes is, or like it makes her push to the other side is just a simple story that Jack was told when he was a little wee lad.
Yeah. Because she's basically a kid at heart. Like, she's known nothing but this fighting life, so she doesn't exactly have, like, the adult mindset. So she hears the story and it makes her happy. But, basically the next day passes after that night, and then Jack shows Ashi a tree in the middle of this decimated forest, and basically explains that Aku desecrated and destroyed this entire forest as a show of power, and then he left the last tree to truly show that no life is sacred, that he could take it whenever he wanted to, but it's always been there. And Jack essentially does the same thing with people. And what I really like about this scene is that, yet again, we haven't seen Jack interact with a lot of people outside of her, basically just her. And because of that, we don't see a lot of city scenes. So when we finally enter a city scene, I thought it was really funny and interesting because Jack basically disguises himself in a costume, and he looks a lot like Scarborough or whatever the name of the robot. Scatman. From the first episode that Jack fights and defeats. I think he took a note out of his playbook and copied the costume a little bit, because Jack finds a nice big rimmed hat and gets big pimpin' with an overcoat and everything. So it's really nice. It's really funny though. So him and Ashi basically go to the top of this tower where there's a landing pad, and Jack shows Ashi that essentially aliens from other planets literally come to Aku's world to find a place to settle. And you find out that no place is sacred. There's a city of full of really nice people, and these evil aliens get basically sent there to kill the people and take it for themselves. And they get that plot of land just for that. So you can see how evil Aku is just by delegating lives they're just nothing, they're cannon fodder. So eventually after that, they find this ruins outside the city, and Ashi doesn't want to accept it, obviously, but that's just, that would be naturally makes sense from somebody who's living this life their entire life. But eventually she kind of accepts it in some way, and they find the ruins of this city where all these people are hurt. And obviously one of the people that are still alive recognize Jack, and they say, oh man, all these kids all of our children were taken to this facility. So Jack and Ashi go to save them, and it turns out that the children were basically bugged, and a high-pitched frequency is played, so they go crazy and decide to attack Jack. And it's all about how Jack and Ashi are trying to escape or trying to stop this from happening, and Jack and Ashi can't hurt them because they're children. So Jack sends Ashi to find the source of the sound to stop the kids, while Jack fends them off. And it's this amazing scene of Jack trying to escape from them, but they're so fast and so feral that he doesn't even have a chance. And we actually, if you guys have seen in one of the original commercials for the show, this was one of the scenes we saw. We see Jack getting mauled by these kind of blue furry creatures, and we weren't even sure what they were, but now we know these are just kids. And that's why Jack isn't even throwing fists or anything like that. He's just grabbing them and throwing them so he doesn't have to hurt them, which is really cool on his part.
Yeah, no, so along with these scenes, we have where Jack tells Ashi, go find the machine, turn it off, find the source. And Ashi goes without even hesitating. She's completely on Jack's side this time.
Yeah, because kids are involved.
Yeah, the children are involved, and she realizes she needs to do something about it. But we get to the part where she meets up with, what would you call them, the armored man.
The armored boss. He doesn't really have a name, but what I really like the scenes where he's setting the frequency, because we see him use fine tuning these dials with very pinpoint fingers, and it's just tick 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 tick. You hear the slow turning of some of the dials. It's very nice. It's very meticulous almost.
Yes, and then so we have that build up of the machine being turned on. Yet again, send the children on Jack. But we also have the scene where Ashi gets captured by
this guy.
By this man, yeah, and is pretty much being tortured. part for this, that really got us, that must be noted is.
Yeah. So essentially, when Ashi is captured, she is held up by each limb in like 4 giant claws, and the boss, like this big bad boss, walks up to her and like squeezes her cheeks like a grandma would pinch her face almost. And there's this amazing scene of just her doing that, him holding her face like that, and it's actually really funny. So, and I'm really wondering, like, right as he begins to torture Ashi, he charges himself with electricity and starts shocking her.
Yep.
And then she doesn't die. She's just like super weak, and then he has to recharge. He literally goes to recharge, and she starts getting like accommodating to the pain.
Yep.
So she manages to escape her bonds and like knock him out, and essentially stop the frequency when he's. Yeah. But she kills him in the process,
and
she
tosses him right into the machine.
Yeah, and what ends up happening though is there's this nice little scene after he dies, and it's only like for a few frames, and Chai's pointed it out to me, is that we see her standing after she kills him. And there's this black shade over her, and all you see is her eyes. And it's almost very reminiscent of the scene when Jack's hiding in the cave, and you see the blood pouring over him, and you see like just his eyes. You see like this darkness, even though that she's she's still like a mindless child almost. She still has that darkness to kill in her. And the same thing with Jack. Like he still has that darkness even in him, even though he wants to believe he's like totally good. So like as we get to the end, she destroys the machine. And what ends up happening is all the children just like pass out and fall over. But Jack firmly believes that they all died, and he doesn't realize it. And then we see the Green Horseman.
Yeah, the Green Horseman, finally Jack sees him, and this time there's zero hesitation. And for once, we finally get a voice to this figure, this mysterious man of the mist, shall we call it.
Yeah.
But Jack, he's surrounded by these children, which he just all watched get fried.
Yeah, and he believes they're all dead. He believes it's all his fault. Like, all these kids are dead by his hand. He couldn't save these innocent.
Yeah, so, he can't take it. He realizes, rather, he thinks he's not worthy because of this. He let them down, so he goes off with the horseman. And not knowing what it'll hold, or what will happen next, or who he's leaving behind, because he does leave Ashi.
Yeah, he leaves Ashi and all, and like a ton of like even the people that were in the ruins of the city, he doesn't even like think about them. He's just like, I couldn't save these kids. It's time to go. So whatever this horseman implies, it clearly implies some sort of end to Jack, or not even an end, but like
something bigger.
Something bigger, because he really believes that he couldn't save these innocent, and it doesn't make him worthy anymore. And that's why I kind of want to believe my theory of that this horseman is somebody judging him, and that's why he's so afraid of him, because it's always following him around, seeing everything he does. And this is the one time in front of the horseman he's failed and he thinks let people die super hard, so that he believes it's time to go with the horseman. And if the horseman's judging him, then that would make sense. But and then the episode kind of ends right there with Ashi trying to find Jack after she finds the kids, and they all kind of start waking up again. She starts screaming his name, and then the episode ends. We get Wacha. We get our little.
Get that good Wacha.
Yeah. So I think it was pretty good. There was a lot of nice art in here. A lot of the art that was in this episode I like, not because it was fanciful. Besides like the water dragon scene and the dream scene, or the god scene or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think one of my favorite scenes was probably the city scene, because first we get the city of Aku, which we haven't really seen much of.
Yeah.
And then we see some of the people inside the city, and we see like the hat salesman and the shoe salesman and all that stuff, and they're so reminiscent of the old people that we see in the old cartoons, of like just like kind of silly designs, but it still feels like it totally makes sense.
Yes.
So it's really funny to see.
No, yeah, but along with that, I think it's amazing how the director of this show does a great job at mending all the scenes. If you pay attention, there are a bunch of scenes in this episode. We have the battle scene with the Scotsman and Aku, and then we go to Jack and Ashi on the island, and then we transfer to them in the tree scene, and then Aku City.
It moves
a lot, and I think that the flow is really kept, and you're never at one point, it's never broken up, or you never
feel like it's not going fast enough. There's always something happening. There's never, like, even in the moments of pause, because that's the thing with Jack, is that there's never really a moment of pause for him. Right before he tells Ashi the story about the gods, he almost starts hallucinating again before Ashi walks in. So like, Jack can never really have a moment of rest. There's like the whole episode with the wolf, and that was like the longest time we've seen him at rest. But every other moment he's like on the move, or he has to do something, so he has no choice but to keep going. And it's really interesting to see him that way, especially since in like the old series he's kind of like in every episode most of them aren't connected, so he's like helping one person and he's staying in that area with that one person, and the same thing with another person, but it kind of like continues on and on and on. But here we are again, like him moving, him trying to save lives, and not exactly working out for him, or at least he doesn't realize that. Yeah, so I think it was a pretty good episode, Chives.
Yeah, I think it was great. You know, we've already hit all the key points that I think we can do. But if you guys down in the comment section have any ideas, or you know, any speculations, or you know, just want to say hi, or anything really. I mean, we love hearing from you guys. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your opinions. Even if it clashes against us, that's what we live for. That's why we do
what we do.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been the Cube and Chives.
Back at you again. Here we go.
Cartoon review of Samurai Jack Season 5, Episode 5. We will talk to you guys later.
See ya.
Bye.